Bragg.
Oh, thank you, President. And we have a limited number of tools that we can use to ensure that we are doing our job as senators in this place. We have the questions on notice, we have the estimates processes, we have the order for production of documents. It's often been the case under this government that you've been able to get more through an FOI as a citizen than you can as a senator through those processes, which I think is hugely regrettable, given that this is a core accountability function that the Australian people want us to perform, irrespective of our political colour or irrespective of our policy interests or particular positions. And the reason that I asked about these productivity issues in the estimates in June, and I note that we have received the answer to this question in the last hour, which is remarkable, actually, that it's hit right on today, is because the nature of the productivity agenda of the government impacts the welfare of all the Australian people. And if the government of the day is not running a productivity agenda in accordance with the advice that most of us would generally accept would be good advice from the Productivity Commission, then that is a concern, and we need to understand exactly why the government is not progressing the changes that the PC has recommended. Now, in the case of my question, which was in 16 June 2023, the question was just simply, what are the measures from the Productivity Commission's latest reports has the government adopted in that budget? Now, having received a response on one piece of paper in the last hour, I think the answer to the question is zero. Now, that's fine, but the answer should have been provided in the reasonable period. Now, I understand that the government is wanting to support its favourite vested interests, and if you go back and look at the last 100 or so years of Australian politics, one of the major criticisms that's been levied at the Labor Party over this period has been that it is beholden to vested interests. And I believe that is a legitimate complaint that we would raise as in our role as an opposition. And in relation to these matters, the Productivity Commission has recommended in its latest report that there should be the introduction of menus into industrial awards, which would enable a more flexible workplace, particularly for small businesses. But we know through the government's own policies that they are pursuing a different agenda, that they are pursuing multi-employer bargaining, they are pursuing the abolition of labour hire for various reasons. But it is, I think, fair and reasonable that an opposition member could ask a question to the Treasury, or through the Treasury Secretary at the time, which relates to how much of the work of the Productivity Commission has been adopted by the government. That's all the question is. There's no tricks, there's no gimmicks. That's all the question was. So the answer provided today effectively says that none of those suggestions from the PC have been adopted, and that is regrettable, but that is a legitimate point of difference that we may have. But the point here is one of transparency and sticking to what the government said when it was the opposition. Now, as former Senator Patrick, I think, has said, transparency is a word that is only ever uttered from the opposition benches, and that is, I think, hugely regrettable, because the institutions can be eroded by governments deliberately avoiding the orders of the parliament and then deciding that they will, for political reasons, file endless, I would say in some cases illegitimate, public interest immunity claims. And in fact, the vast bulk of the orders that I've seen passed by this Senate chamber in relation to Treasury matters in this parliament have been emasculated by the government and have not been properly complied with. And I think that is regrettable, because the institution is going to be less effective if we allow the government of the day, no matter who that is, to erode these transparency and integrity arrangements which are necessary. And it is a good thing that the country now has an integrity commission, and it is a good thing that these things have been done. But it is also important that the old integrity measures and the old transparency measures of Senate estimates and questions on notice and orders for production of documents are treated seriously and with respect by the incumbent government. And I think Senator Walsh has done a good job in chairing the Senate Economics Committee in the estimates, and I think she understands that the estimates is for the opposition parties to ask questions, and I respect that very much. But I think it is disappointing that the executive government have decided to debase the Senate's powers, which are there for the Australian people, in this way. And I hope that in future estimates we don't have to wait until the next estimates or after the next estimates to get the answers back on important matters in this country.
Thank you, Senator Brett.